Oh, I thought that was... Okay, never mind. I thought that was somebody else. But anyway, this is a video. Sorry about that intro, by the way. I was just looking over there. I saw somebody pulling up. I thought it was Josh's mom. It's some guy in a Cadillac Escalade. Fucking poser driving that $1 billion shit. But anyway, yeah, we'll talk about Skybound today. So, I just made a video about Erebus. I literally just hit the end button. Shook my hand for a couple minutes because my hand goes numb from holding it up here for so damn long, but then I just hit the resume. I just hit play again, or hit record again. I mean, damn, I can't talk. But anyway, I am doing a video about Skybound. So let us talk about some lore shit. What lore shit are we talking about? I believe I left off introducing Corvos as a character. Yeah, it's been a little while since I made it, but I think I was introducing Corvos. I said I didn't have a lot of backstory on him yet, but Corvos Solmandanus, I've got a last name for him now. It was actually Solmandanus, but it's whatever. He comes from the planet of Phokis, which is a very unknown planet sitting at the far reaches of the galaxy, of the Milky Way galaxy, toward the edge there. And there's other galaxies that have been discovered and colonized outside of the Milky Way by both the Jade Empire, the Jade Technocracy, and also Doften, the Doftek Empire, all these different factions. Also Keonia, but Keonia just kind of sticks to their one big massive planet, and they have just a couple mining colonies outside of that. So they're kind of a little isolated hermit nation on their own planet, but kind of like North Korea or something. But their planet is so fucking huge, it doesn't really matter. It's still a major economic player. So, Phokis is this little lesser-known planet on the outskirts of the Milky Way that doesn't really have any valuable resources. It doesn't really have anything you'd see as desirable. Nothing you'd want to go and mine. There's really nothing there that's valuable. Nothing you can make weapons or anti-gravity tech with. There's really nothing there of value. But it's still a cool-ass planet. And I'm having this planet where it's, the planet is tidally locked. So, what it is there's like one little band around the planet that's hospitable, and the rest is just burning, and the other side is freezing. Hell was that? Oh, somebody over there hollering. But anyway, there's like a band in the middle that's just totally hospitable, but the people of Phokis are shapeshifters. They can take any fucking damage you give to them. They'll just heal right back up because they have rapid cell reproduction and shit. And so they live all over the planet despite the immense heat on one side and frigid cold on the other. And they have technology that they've developed where they can filter the heat from one side to the other cold side and even out. It's like terraforming devices and shit. And they sort of keep the planet at one solid temperature despite it being tidally locked. But the middle space in the middle part, like the band that goes around, is still the most hospitable place. It's the most evenly, it's like a really temperate climate, But anyway, they've sort of terraformed the planet where all of it is kind of close to the same temperature, but one side's still hotter by maybe 30 degrees. The other side's still colder by maybe 50 degrees or so. So, it's whatever, but they live on that planet, they make it work, and it's a massive city planet. And you're probably thinking, well, how the fuck did they build all this without any sort of, technology or anything? And it's like biomass. They built it all from biomass because they're all a bunch of shape-shifting creatures. But they're weird in the sense that they can shape-shift. They can turn their arm into a block of something like bone and then just cut it off the rest of their arm. Drop the damn block of bone on the ground and grow a regular arm back. So they can build buildings using their own body parts, using like bone, biomass and stuff. So they end up building this entire city out of biomass. So it's like constructed from massive pieces of bone and flesh and stuff. And it's this freaky, weird looking thing. And the emperor of this planet is Corvus Salmandanis. And then it's one day Zenithion goes to the planet wanting to make a trade deal with these people because he wants some of their biomass technology to be used on the Magnos 2. He wants some kind of machine that can produce this biomass technology, or he wants a couple of their... Yeah, he wants either a machine that can do it because, you know, he's not knowledgeable on the subject of biomass stuff. So he thinks a machine can do that. And either a machine that can do that, or he wants access to a few Phoketian workers that can do that for him. But, there's Josh's mom. No? Who the hell is that? I have no clue who that is. Anyway, yeah. Planet Fokeeks. Anyway, so Zenith goes to the planet wanting this deal made, and Corvus denies him, and he says, look, I'm not going to let you use my people. I'm not going to let you do this. This is bullshit. You're not going to do this. So Zenith gets pissed off, and he says, well, if we can't have some of your people to use this, to get this power from, to get this technology from, because Zenith, you gotta understand, is mining planets to drive resources to build these massive ships in his fleet and to build these cities that he's got on planets like the planet of Celestia, which, was it Celestia? Yeah, that's what I originally called it, but I changed it. It's, oh man, what the fuck is it? Mordos or something like that. It's this gigantic city planet that was constructed by Zenithion, that was artificially constructed using materials they mined. It was like just like an empty place in space that they then built this artificial planet. So what they did is they found what was mostly empty. It was a star there, but they find this star and there's nothing around. It's just a star. And then they built this Dyson sphere structure around the star to pull power in, and built buildings on top of the Dyson sphere structure. And it just progressively got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And to the point they were having so much city, the circumference of the planet was getting larger. So they've got this massive city planet, this massive structure built on top of a Dyson sphere. It's built around a massive white star. And it's just this massive fucking thing, this power structure in the universe. I believe I had it planned that there were like 300,000 levels to the city. The bottom, like, 1,000 were totally uninhabitable because of smog and shit. And if you went down there, you had to use a gas mask. The inhabitants of the city were, like, living in total abject poverty. They had no wealth at all. They had health problems because of the smog. They were dying in massive numbers. The entire population of the bottom levels had cancer. The middle levels are okay, and the higher levels are, like, tropical paradise land. And, they have massive amounts of electricity that they sell to other planets that are lacking, that are like kind of like the Haiti of Earth. These planets that are like third world, they sell the electricity to them for vast amounts of money. It's like one of the most economically booming and growing planets in the known universe. And Zenith is wanting this biotechnology to use for this city because they're running out of planets within the local area to mine. He's literally mines the planets till they disappear, starts at the crust and works his way into the planet, mining the core away, and strips the planet to nothing and then leaves an empty place in space where the planet was. So there's like a bunch of nothing. There's like a bunch of empty places in space where Zenith's mining all these goddamn planets away to build this massive Celestia planet. And so he goes to these people wanting to cut a deal, and they're like, no, you're not getting our people. So Zenith gets pissed off and blows the entire planet up with this thing called the Viper Cannon. It's this gigantic cannon mounted underneath the Magnos ship. A door on the Magnos opens up, and the cannon kind of comes out, and blasts a massive hole straight through the planet, damn it, which allows magma to come up from the core, and it just burns the entire planet to shit. But instead of shooting it with one time, see, that's what it would do if he shot it one time. He shoots it like 5 times. And just literally obliterates, because it's a gigantic laser cannon, but it fires in pulses. So it'll fire one time, and every pulse that comes down, it blows a hole. It blows like a big chunk out of the planet, right? And normally it takes one pulse to blow a hole straight through, and Fokis is a smaller world. So what happens is he sends 5 pulses down, these gravity pulses down with the laser that's already burning through the crust and glassing the planet, and then he just fucking sends these 5 pulses down. It's like boom, 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 and it just blows a gigantic, massive crater into the planet, blows the planet to pieces, scatters pieces through space, kills everyone on the planet except for Corvos. And there's a part in the book where Corvos is like floating in the orbit of what used to be the planet, almost dead. He's burned, his face is burning off. Because he's in open space, the fire just kind of burns to a little ember glowing in it. But he's got all these rock chunks in his skin, and he's just staring hatefully at the Magnos as the Magnos ship flies away from Fokis, and he vows to get revenge on Zenith, no matter like if anybody stands in his way, he's gonna kill him. If anything gets in his way, he's gonna blow right through it and destroy it. So that's sort of the idea that we got here. This is what we're working with, is that this guy Corvos is going to kill Zenith, and this is the enemy of Zenith in the book. This is the main enemy that's being set up. And so, for one of what I'm doing when I do that, I'm swiping away notifications, but anyway. So what happens with all this, so I'll tell you. After Corvos does all this shit, goes through all this hell, he lives, and he goes to the Isles of Motef. Now, this isn't really talked about much in the book. See, in the book, Corvos is going to kind of randomly show up here and there, kind of pop in, kind of pop out, stuff like that. So, what happens is, in the extended lore, Corvos goes to the Isles of Motef, this planet, just islands, as I explained in the previous video. But for those of you who haven't watched it, you're just now watching this. Give you a recap. The Isles of Motef was originally this gigantic planet that had a booming economy hundreds of thousands of years ago, and then a meteor hit it. A meteor about the size of Halley's Comet. It fucking hit it. Excuse me. And destroyed the entire planet to nothing, reducing it to just little islands, little pieces of rock. I say little, but they were about the size of the moon, strode through space. And what happened is the nation of Keonia offered their help in exchange for being able to mine the resources on Motef. So Keonia comes in after they accept this deal or whatever. Keonia comes in. Who's that? Oh, shit. Keonia comes in, and they build this supermassive, there she goes. Keonia, comes in, they build this supermassive bridge, these supermassive bridges between the, islands, and they changed the name from Motef to the Isles of Motef, so it's this gigantic floating archipelago through space. It's really, really cool. And, so Corvos goes to the Isles of Motef, which have now become a third world nation just about, because the damn economy's gone to shit. The planet's destroyed near about. There isn't really a core anymore. The planet used to be tropical and have oceans. Now there's no oceans. It's a really, really hostile planet with hostile wildlife. It's all kinds of freezing. It's like glaciers and everything everywhere, because there's no core to keep it warm, and Keonia built a Dyson sphere around the nearest star, so they're using it for power drainage. Bit of a problem. So, Motef is not heated, it's frozen, and there's this little tiny terraforming devices that Keonia placed thousands of years ago to keep the planet somewhat warm from completely making it uninhospitable, and they're breaking down, so the planet is just in this shitty state. And Corvos goes there because he knows Zenith won't be able to look for him there. Zenith knows Corvos is still alive, because there's a part I write about in the book where as Zenith is leaving on the Magnos, he turns to look and he kind of looks through deep space and he just sees Corvus there and he's like, oh, fuck. But Corvus goes to Motef to plan, and he finds this kid named, he finds this warlord there. Or the family of this warlord, whose name was fuck, what was it? Wasn't Alexio, it wasn't a Greek name, it was, fuck. Something like Alex, but it was, oh yeah, it was Aurelian, that's what it was. It was Aurelian Septilos. They go to Motef and they find this guy and his family, and Aurelian is a great warlord who's been remembered for. There was an in the lore. There's an invasion of Motef where these creatures from this planet called what was it? Vega 28A. It's another really little small planet, but there are these really hostile beings there. And anyway, this planet somehow formed in between two galaxies. It's just in this big empty area of space. But these creatures just so happen to have evolved on this one planet that just so happened by coincidence to have formed there. And there are these weird oceans on the planet where there's these green, like, toxic oceans that gas rises from them. The sky is purple and has all these weird looking clouds that it rains like methane gas and shit. And then no, not methane, it rains like gasoline and shit. It's like a carbon planet. And then these beings evolve there and they drink like methane and shit. And it's really freaky. It's weird. They drink like methane and propane to get their nutrients and shit, and instead of water, and they eat this weird native wildlife that's like this creepy oil creature. But anyway, they go to the planet of Motef to try and kill to try and extract resources that Keonia was mining, and they want the fucking resources, and then Keonia, as well as the people of Motef, fight them off. And in that war, Aurelian was a great hero. He fought on the side of Motef and Keonia. So, then Aurelian wanted to separate from Keonia, and he wanted Motef to become a sovereign state, and goes on a civil war with Keonia, and is then assassinated. And his son, Mostifis, as it's pronounced, is raised to be like his father by his mother. His mother teaches him how to fight and all this stuff. And anyway, Corvo shows up to this planet right not too long after Aurelian has died. And another car? Oh no, they're not pulling in here. Goes there after Aurelian has been dead, after he's been killed, after he's been assassinated. And then what happens is Corvus tells the mother, he's like, we need to stop, there's another threat as well, and that being Zenith Eon. She's like, yes, I know, and then he asks the mother's permission to infuse, to tamper with Mephistus' genes, to give him his abilities to shapeshift, and he does just that. So he gives this kid, Mostifis, this little child, the ability to shapeshift and shit. So this kid's got inhuman powers now. Just shit that would blow your mind out your ass. Just powers that are incredible to think about. And blow the bones out your feet if you really saw him in action. And his mother teaches the kid marksmanship, and he's like an excellent shot. He's pretty much a superhuman, pretty much. Master of any weapon. He can use swords and shit. And there's a thing in the book that I've got going on, and it's this type of machete with a laser on it. It's a regular machete or regular sword, but there's this thing out in front of the blade. There's like a laser that sticks out in front of it to give a burning effect when you kill enemies. So it's similar to a lightsaber, but it's not exactly its own thing. But some people that are trained with it use it in combat, and it's not like Jedi. It's just like various officers and stuff use it in combat. And Zenith has one, but it's got a high-powered laser on the front, so it kind of just cuts through whatever it touches. But it has to be charged up, and the battery runs dead real quick. It's like a prototype model that he's got in the book at first, and then toward the end of the book, he gets this upgraded model. But it's he uses it in battle and stuff. And anyway, Mostefes is trained with one of these fucking things, and he's trained with marksmanship and all this stuff. And anyway, he grows up and starts his own movement against the Keonian race, and to take back to take back Motef and make it a sovereign nation. So he takes right after his father and follows in his father's footsteps. And so during this 20-year time, from the time that Corvos gives Mostefes powers at age 1, and to the time that Mostefes is 22, it's like this 21-year gap there. Corvos just kind of disappears. Nobody knows where he went. Everybody thinks he's dead, and Zenith is hoping that he's dead, but Zenith has this uncertainty about it because Zenith is communicated with by this fucking nebula, this sentient nebula off in space that communicates with him. And it's like a god figure off in the universe that he communes with, because Zenith is super intelligent. He can communicate with this thing long distance. And anyway, in the book, there's this religion that pulls from my actual beliefs that at one point in time, a sentient nebula is responsible for, it's responsible for creating the universe, right? And so, they're just hanging out. I just thought they were going to come out here anyway. I hope not. But Mostefes is, what was his name? Yeah, he gets the ability to do... Ow, I hit my knee. He gets this ability to shapeshift and all, and then Corvos comes back to visit him. At age 22, Corvos comes back, and he tells Mostefes, is like, okay, you've been training and you've been doing all this. Are you ready? And then Mostefes is like, who the fuck are you? And then Corvos explains himself, and it's like, well, I'm the one that gave you your ability to shapeshift. You noticed none of your parents did. He said, I tampered with your genetics when you were born. After you were a small child, he gave you these abilities. And I kind of sat back and watched as you trained and mastered these abilities. And he said, I think you're ready to fight Zenith. And the guy's like, why would I want to fight Zenith? I'm trying to fight the Keonian nation. And then Corvos realized he should have been there with this kid as he was a child so that he could have influenced him. And, he decides to get on the kid's good side by helping him fight the Keonians. So Corvos is like, well, I'll help you fight the Keonian race. None of this is really mentioned in the book very much, apart from, because it's about Zenith and his travels. So Zenith's going through the universe, and he stops by on Motef one day and runs into Mostefes one day. And he's like, who the hell are you, kid? Because Mostefes is fighting against the Keonians in this battlefield, and Zenith shows up to help fight, to help the Keonians. Because Zenith was working with the Keonians, although, after all, the Keonians did cybernize him and make him a god that he is. So he owes them. So he works with Keonia, and he shows up fighting Corvos on the battlefield one day, and Mostefes, and he's like, who the fuck are you two? Because they were whooping ass. Zenith was sending his troops, like, in the thousands to fight, like, in the millions, actually, to fight just these two. And they were slaughtering them, just, like, destroying his troops, and he's like, who the fuck are you? And Zenith goes up against both of them at the same time and damn near gets his ass handed to him. He does beat them, but barely. He beats Mostefes with ease. Not with ease, but it takes I believe in the book I've written that it takes 10 minutes to beat him. And then with Corvos, it's a constant battle because Corvos keeps rapidly healing. He cuts Corvos' arm off, it grows right back, and Corvos grabs him with the arm and just chokes him out and throws him across the fucking room and throws him across the desert and all this shit. The icy desert and shit. But they finally, because Corvos knows he can't really beat Zenith. He knows he can fight him all day, but he can't really beat him. So he's like, okay, we gotta go. So him and Mostefes retreat. And then that's the part in the book where you meet the two characters, Corvos and Mostefes. You meet Corvos at Phokis, but you meet Mostefes on the battlefield. And that's the first big fight scene with the two versus Zenith. And then, yeah. What happens after that is Zenith goes off. He's like, fuck, man, he's still alive, and he's trained this kid. So then he goes off, and then Corvos uses this opportunity to get into Mostefes' head, and he's like, hey, Mostefes, you realize that man you just fought works with the Keonians? And he's like, really? And he says, who's the man? He was extremely powerful. And he says, Zenith Eon, leader of the Jade Technocracy. And the kid's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So we're fighting two gigantic empires at the same time. And Corvus is like, well, now you are. You shot Zenith. And it's because there's a part, like, when they're fighting, Mosthephis is up in this tower on the battlefield. There's this big ass tower. It's like the Tower of Babel that's on Motef. It's like one of these capital city buildings that they got there. And he's firing down from the top. This building is hundreds of thousands of years old. It's massive. But he's shooting down from the top of this tower, sniping people on the battlefield. And, he's like kind of like he's not like very top, he's like midway up the thing. But, because I mean, it goes all the way into space just about, so he can't possibly be on top shooting down. He's kind of halfway sniping people on the battlefield below, and he's got a bunch of snipers stationed out up there. And, he shoots Zenith right in the shoulder, and like takes a big chunk of metal off of his shoulder, because they know Zenith is cybernetic. Zenith kind of looks and goes, fuck, and he looks up at Mosthephis, who's sitting up there laughing. And that's a part in the book where Zenith wants to kill Mosthephis because he just shot his fucking shoulder. He's like, this guy's gonna get some. So, Mosthephis and Corvos both retreat, and now they're fighting two gigantic empires at once. How do they do this? They get an army together. They combine they get everybody on Motef together, along with actually allying themselves with the people of Vega 28. And then because they agree, they tell the people of Vega, they're like, okay, we're ripping up the contract with Keonia. If you want the resources, you come and get them, but there's a little thing here. You gotta work with us. So they're like, okay, we want that fucking shit. Because Motef has this, natural element that can be used in anti-gravity stuff that's like element 115 or something like that. And so the people of Vega 28 wanted it, and they're like, fuck, we'll fight with you. And they have very advanced laser tech on Vega 28 that's like nothing you'd ever see anywhere else in the galaxy, so they can just blow holes through fucking mountains. The only comparable weapon is the Arms of Dofton, which is Zenith, these bionic arms that he has with the lasers built in that he can blow through planets with. Just cut down capital ships in the air. You know, with these fucking things. He just fucking roasts right through a capital ship. Thing just falls through orbit onto the ground. He can do this shit, but the people of Vega 28 have weapons. They're not quite as powerful as that, but they can do a lot of damage. They can blow through mountains and shit. With enough hits, they can take down a capital ship. I mean, little laser pistols. I ain't talking about these big-ass weapons. I'm talking about little handguns and shit that with enough shots can take down a capital ship. So they're badasses. And so Motef, who's very primitive in their weaponry, they're still using, like, lead-based firearms and shit. They team up with the people of Vega. But the people of Vega 28, they like the original, like, projectile firearm style, even though it's a lot weaker. So they find a way to make what it's called an infusion weapon, where they infuse this laser tech. Now, see, this is where we're getting to the totally unrealistic, would never happen type shit. They infuse plasma and laser tech in with the fucking projectile weapon, so the projectiles shoot, and it's like shooting a fucking laser grenade sort of thing. When it hits the ground, like the projectile goes through a target and kills them, but then it lands on the ground, and it's like a grenade type thing. You'd think of it. It's like a disco. Think of a disco ball with all the lights reflecting off of it. But this it's got a bunch of holes that open up, shoot lasers out, and it spins on the ground. So it just destroys everybody around it. So it's this really dangerous weapon. And, it's got this tech built into it where it can't kill the person that fired it or people on a certain side, because you got a chip in your uniform that you wear. Like, say if you were fighting on the side of Motef or Vega, you'd have this damn chip you're wearing. Where you'd like, what was it? Where it would like pick up a signal. It would send out a signal to the thing going off on the ground, and it would pick it up, and then it would know not to shoot that particular target. And all the people of Motef would have one, so it would not fire at the specific side, but it would fire at very specific enemy targets. And so what would happen is it would kill all these enemy targets in its general vicinity, and they'd be shooting these little grenades everywhere. It'd be killing people in mass. And now Zenith is getting scared because he's seeing all this powerful shit. Not scared for himself, because the technocracy's ridiculously powerful. But he's getting scared for Keonia. He's like, Keonia is fucked. And so, yeah, they are fucked. So what happens is the contract with Keonia and them are ripped up. Keonia retreats. They're like, you know what? They surrender. They're like, you know, you want the fucking planet? You take the fucking planet. We got other planets we can mine this shit from. And, so they go out of the way to just surrender. They give Keonia, and then they give Motef rights back to their own nation. And, Keonia works with Vega to build up their economy again, so they're no longer super impoverished. And they're pretty well off after that point. So, shit works out really, really well for them in the end, so you know what I mean? Motef comes back around full circle, builds their economy back up very rapidly using Vega's technology, selling weapons tech off to other planets and mercenary workers and shit like that. I'm taking a piece from Borderlands here. I've got a bit of lore in my book where there's this ancient alien race that sits outside the galaxy. They still exist, but they're rare. They're very rare numbers. They are the beings that created the Dofton race, the humankind, and all that stuff. They also created the Keonian race. Sorry, I got so close to the camera, I had to readjust my shirt collar. It was all stretched out. But anyway, they're the ones that created the Keonian race. All the races that you know of, all these super ancient races that were created, in the Skybound universe were created originally by this Promethean race, and then before them, the Nebula created all this stuff, so yeah, that's what happened. And anyway, what happens is there are these mercenaries that are like out looking for these aliens, and they think that some of them still exist within the Milky Way, and they're out looking for them. Looking for the last remaining ones, trying to get secret knowledge of technology that only they would know that's so advanced. It's like the Forerunner shit from Halo. You know the Forerunners with all their super crazy shit? Most of the technology in the galaxy that everyone uses is on par with the Covenant race or the Forerunner. Think the Forerunner shit times 100,000. And that's what the Prometheans have. And these people, these like scientist mercenary types, want to go and learn about this shit, and they're going through high shit to find these aliens, going to hostile territory to try and find the remaining ones. And they buy up all these weapons, and there's all these different weapon corporations that different planets are selling. So you've got like it's really fucking cool. I just put that in this because I'm a really big fan of Borderlands, and I wanted to have my own sort of thing like that. And I was like, you know what? Throw in some gun companies. I'm a gun nut, so fuck, let's throw in some gun companies. So you've got Soljek weapons, which is Doftek, you know, of course, Emperor Doftek and Dofton made weapons, so that's Soljek weaponry. And then there's another one, what do they call it? It was made by a bunch of companies on Celestia. There's one that makes projectile weapons, there's one that's like makes gravity weaponry tech and all this stuff, and there's different companies that specialize in different things. And anyway, Motef starts making these badass guns and selling them. So the ones that they were using in battle with the grenades shit, and yeah, they start selling those things out to various different planets and peoples. And these mercenaries for immense amounts of money, and they start making extreme profits on it. And so in doing that, their economy just explodes, and they build a bunch of these like terraforming devices. They repair the old ones that didn't work worth a shit, and they sell them because they don't work worth a shit, and they sell them to some random hobos in the galaxy somewhere, and they build these new and improved models, which can then totally terraform the planet back to a hot world. So now it's a temperate, not temperate, but a tropical planet again. You know, all this happens very, very quickly within the span of like 2 years. And Keonia is like, fuck. We are fucked. These people are badass. And then so the Isles of Motef, they improved the planet by what happens before. There was really, I changed the story a bit where instead of having gravity devices hold the pieces of the planet together, when Keonia did it, they redneckdified it, right? And so what they did is they held all the pieces of Motef together by pretty much bolting the planet pieces together in the cheapest fucking way possible. Because they just wanted to use people of Motef for their resources and exploit them as slave labor, so fuck you, right? So what they did is they just, with the bridges that would connect the two pieces of the planet, at the end of each piece of the bridge, there'd be like a gigantic rod that kind of goes down in the planet that holds the bridge into the planet, but also holds this piece attached to the other piece, and would hold the two together anchored in space. So, yeah, it was a problem. So then the Motef people, they upgraded it. And built, people of Vega helped them build these light bridges between, they destroyed the old, like, suspension bridge shit that they had before. And they build these light bridges, like you'd see, remember in Halo, the Forerunner light bridges, something similar to that. These light bridges, hard light shit, and then they, it's not hard light, it's not what I'm calling it, but it looks like that. It's like a light bridge, but it's actually some kind of plasma shit. And, anyway, what they do is they build these light bridges. And, then they destroy all these other bridges, and then they, hold all the shit together using gravity tech. Which then gets the attention of other factions. And so what's your cause after you fought off Keonia and you scared off the Jade technocracy? What is your cause now? And what Motef then set itself up to do is to free slaves across the universe. Now they're like the abolitionists of the galaxy. So what happens is Zenith he goes to all these different planets, and when he's mining them, he has slave labor do a lot of mining. So he enslaves the entire population of these planets, and then afterward just genocides them all. He takes some of the strongest among them and breeds them for his military, and then genocides the rest of the race. So, Motef, they're like, we've had enough of this bullshit. Some Mostifis and Corvos are like, we're gonna free these people, and we're gonna kill Zenith. That becomes their new cause, and there's a lot of people that hate Zenith, or are either scared of him, that join out of fear of Zenith's occupation of their planets, or they join the cause out of hate for Zenith and stuff, because their relatives on a different planet got killed or something, and they're like, fucking, we're gonna take these people out. So, just to give you a sense of scale of what's going on, each planet, each empire starts off kind of on one planet, but then they'd be like, when I say Keonia, the Keonian nation, it's not like a country on Earth. It's a planet that's 400,000 times the size of Jupiter that should not exist based on current laws of physics. It should not exist. It's incredibly huge. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense. And it has around it 400,000 colonies, mining colonies and all kinds of other things. Huge amounts of numbers of shit going on. The Jade Empire has colonized 78 galaxies. All with, you can imagine how many fucking planets in each galaxy. They've colonized them all. Mined a shit ton of them. They have over, I believe, what was the number that I had? They have like 7 million city planets like Celestia built throughout the universe. They've got all kinds of technology that they've gotten and learned from other races, so it's fucking ridiculous the amount of shit that they know. Their army numbers in the, I believe it was octillions. So, I mean, it's crazy the amount of just shit that is going on in the scale of things. And the Motef, in the face of all this adversity, builds their own army. But it's not near as big. It actually just numbers in the trillions, not the octillions or septillions or something like that. It numbers in the trillions. And it's a rebel army made up of like a bunch of bums in the universe. It's made up of a bunch of people from like bum planets and like stuff like that. backwards third world planets that have been invaded by Zenith but were never fully destroyed. Stuff like that. Slave people from other planets. You know, it's stuff like that. Like, Mostifis would go to a planet and free the people there, and get the technocracy agents off the planet, and then would assimilate the slave labor into their armed forces, and then to fight Zenith, you know. But it's a weird thing, because it really, what the fuck was I saying? Yeah. Zenith starts getting, he's not scared, but he's worried. He's like, you know, we need to up our game. So Zenith builds another Viper cannon, attaches it to another ship, and sends it out. He builds an entirely new class of ship called a Viper attack craft, and it's designed specifically to go out. It makes like a compact version of the Viper cannon that, instead of being able to put out the amount of pulses that the Viper cannon can put out at any one time is 10. These smaller ones can only put out 1. And then you have to wait to charge it back up for about 5 minutes. So you could pulse it one time, blow a big hole. You gotta wait 5 minutes. So you're just glassing the planet for the rest of that 5 minutes so you can do another pulse. So the process of destroying shit is much slower. But he sends out all these little craft out into these hostile worlds that are fighting against him to destroy them. But what he doesn't expect is that Mostifis and Corvus have a great idea, and Mostifis goes to Corvus one day and he's like, you know what? Our forces are getting just destroyed by Corvus. What are I've got an idea. And Corvus is like, well, I'm all ears. And Mostifis says, what we need to do is we need to manipulate the genes of all the children being born in our armed forces, also like under our cause, our movement, under our flag. And let all the sons and daughters of Motef be shapeshifters as Fokis was, and then we're continuing on the Fokisian race as well as the race of Motef and Vega. And Corvus is like, yes, absolutely. So they have this hybrid race of a mix of people, of the Fokisian people with all these other people. It's this fucked up weird hybrid race of like, it's like humans mixed with the Vega people mixed with the people of Fokisia, or Fokis, I mean. So it's badass, pretty much. It's a bunch of fucking badass. So they recreate the Fokisian people. Every one of these people are shapeshifters now. They age much rapidly, too. Much more rapidly, I mean to say. So what happens is a child that's born in 5 years is an adult. As opposed to in human shit, you're born in like 20 years, you're an adult. I know under the law 18 years, but you're really only fully mentally developed at 20 to 25 years old. So it's like in 5 years, you're already fully grown, fully mentally developed, and fully powered up. So there's this superhuman race of fucking creatures fighting against the Jade Empire. And it's all they can do to fight back. Because Zenith is like, this is fucking fucked. Like, Zenith is the only person that can fight these beings, so. But even he has a hard time with just Corvos. With just keeping Corvos down. Imagine 7 trillion Corvoses coming at you. That's a fucking problem. But, you know, they can actually be killed, because what happens is Zenith's getting pushed back. He develops this weapon known as the, what was it? Some generic-ass name. This is just a placeholder name. The Disintegrator is what I called it. It's not an actual final name. I'm gonna have a cooler name for it. Like Project Prometheus or something like that. Something cool sounding, not like that, but I'm calling it the Disintegrator until then, just to have a placeholder name so you know what I'm talking about. But the Disintegrator is this device that disintegrates, obviously, these beings down to the atomic level. Because even if there's one fucking molecule of their body left, they can convert. They can literally form right back into their former self. They can literally shapeshift back into the creature that was just destroyed. So you have to destroy every atomic molecule of these creatures to keep them from respawning back. So he invents this weapon that can do that. It disintegrates them on the atomic level. So that's what he does. He gives this to all of his soldiers. He said, when you fight these beings, you use this. And that's exactly what they do. They use that weapon. They fight off the Phoenician people. They fight off the people of Motef. They don't push them back. It's so fucking hard. There's so many of them, and they're all so powerful. But they manage to hold their own, should I say. And there's kind of a tie battle. They're fighting each other, but nobody's really making any headway at this point. It's just kind of each side's losing equal amount of numbers, and it's just bad situation. So I want to take a break from the story here and tell you about some other planets. Because I've been writing some different planets, and there's one planet. What did I call it? Shit, I can't remember. It was the Mechadrome. That's what it's called. It's this massive structure in space. It's not a planet. It was built by the original Promethean people. And, it's this gigantic fucking structure in space. Think about Halo. The big, massive mega halo in space. That big ass, what's it called? The Atlas? I can't remember. It's a big ass, massive Forerunner structure in space. It's a super weapon that controls all the other halos. That's sort of what this is, except there's no other little structures like it. It was a massive superstructure. It's not a halo, but it's this gigantic flat disc-like thing in space that's got all these continents on it, and it's like the size of a galaxy itself. And this race of people that are not known, there's no name for them, evolved there. Everybody just calls them the Prometheans, but they're genetically diverged a bit from them. They are the closest thing to the Promethean race, and they have all the knowledge of the Prometheans plus like 10. But they're not quite there. They're not quite the same as the Prometheans. They're a bit different. They have different skin tone, they have different stuff, but they're about as close as you can get. And they don't really know what happened to the Prometheans either, what caused them to go extinct. And, hold on, let me find the light switch. Alright, there we go. I'm hitting every goddamn button in the room here. Anyway, so that's where we're at with that. And they don't really go to war with anybody yet. That happens in the second book, when Earth comes to fight. You know, I explained it before in the past video. Earth gets its technology built up under the leadership of Joseph Bracilli, the fascist dictator, takes control of Earth, and they go out into the goddamn universe to fight all these other worlds, to fight like the technocracy and to fight all these other people, mainly the J technocracy, but they go out there to fight just for the sake of fucking fighting and taking worlds. It's like Manifest Destiny shit. Joseph believes that the universe is guaranteed to him by God, so they're gonna go out and bash some heads. But, I won't tell you the conclusion to that story either, but I'll tell you that these creatures from that planet are involved, because Joseph says, we're gonna take the damn disc. You ain't taking the damn disc, I'll tell you this much. They literally obliterated Joseph's forces that tried to invade that, the disc. Because that's what they call it, is the disc. Nobody knows what the fuck it is, who built it. They know who built it, but they don't know how it works. How it sustains itself, because it is self-sustaining. Whenever damage is done to it, it self-heals, even though it's not biomass, it's not biological. It's purely cybernetic. It's purely like synthetic. It's metal. How does it do this? But it does. Like nanotechnology, but it doesn't use nanotechnology, so nobody really understands how this thing works, and there's no gravity tech involved with the reconstruction process, so nobody understands how this thing works, and it's like this enigma in the universe. The only people that understand it are these Promethean remnants that live on the planet, of which the numbers, I think there's like 2 trillion of them. So compared to the rest of things in the universe, the scale of the things, there's actually very few of them compared to everything else. And Joseph Bracilli here, he comes with the smallest army of them all of, I believe, 5 billion. And, cause he ended up killing a lot of the human race and his slavery shit to build all this advanced tech. So he ends up killing a lot of his own people, and he ends up only having 5 billion left as opposed to the original 12 billion that was on Earth at the time he was going to leave. So he ends up killing a lot of his own people in sweatshops, slave labor, you know, concentration camps and shit like that. Because he's a shit fuck. And anyway, they obliterate 2 billion of his forces. He sends 2 billion to take the disc, and he don't take the disc. They literally, within an hour, wipe out his entire force, and they're like, so what the fuck are you gonna do now? And Joseph's like, retreat! And he goes back off into the galaxy and, colonizes the world to hide and rebuild his forces. But that's not the conclusion of it, though, because once he rebuilds his forces, now you got problems. But we'll talk about that on a later date. But, that's sort of all I'm going to talk about here at this point. I've talked about the disk. Oh, no, I wanted to touch on one more planet, because I did say planets, not planet. There's another planet. I don't have a name for it yet. But it's like Earth. It's the only planet like Earth. It has a culture similar to Earth. There's like punk rock music there and black metal. There's like all kinds of metal genres like thrash and stuff. And what it is there was a satellite in Earth's orbit. There was an ancient satellite that was put there, but it's picked up on our broadcast that we were putting out during the 20th century. And the people of that planet like can access our internet and shit. They can access our radio waves and stuff. They got all these repeaters through space, and they literally, it's like you stealing your neighbor's internet. They hijack a bunch of our waves and shit, a bunch of signals coming from our planet. They're fucking sitting there listening to Creedence Clearwater Revival. The people of the planet speak English. They dress like different parts of the planet take on different Earth cultures. So it's like going to Earth, except the creatures stand at 10 to 11 feet tall. They have, instead of hair, they've got these tendril-like things that grow out of their head and their back. And they have 4 arms instead of 2. And it's fucking cool looking. They have like this orange-colored skin and these bright green eyes. And they don't have whites in their eyes. They have like this, like a grayish color to the back of their eyes. And they have 4 eyes. And like these weird mouths, like the elite soldiers do in Halo, like the elites do. They have these pincher mouths or something. So they're fucking weird looking creatures, totally alien, but they have an Earth culture. And the planet has these weird like looking orange colored skies. The soil is all like Australia. It's like really, really red colored dirt and stuff. And it kind of looks like Mars, but it's like it has water. There's like oceans of actually like water there. It's not like any other liquid, it's water. And the people there, they're these cool, chilled back alien race people. They're fucking cool. They even learned some of their technology from Earth's internet. Like they went to like archive.rs or some shit and like downloaded the fucking, I don't know, they like hacked in, not archived, they went to like the CIA's secret sites and hacked into computers remotely from their planet, got blueprints to like the various jets we've built throughout history, and they've got similar technology. It's pretty fucking cool, actually. It's very, very neat. And I don't have a name for it yet, but I'll think of something. Thinking of calling it Krondor or something like that, or Krondor is too close to Fondor. I forgot about Fondor. I'll think of something. I want it to start with a K though. Have that cuss sound in the beginning, so it's kind of cool. K's are kind of cool, man. No, I'm just being stupid. But anyway, I want it to be really, really fucking cool, and it is fucking cool. But the culture there is very similar to like America on Earth for the most part. But then you got like this there's this island out in the ocean that's just like Jamaica. They listen to, it's like Jamaica in the 80s. They got reggae and shit going on. And there's even a dude in the book, because they got like the tendril for hair. It's not like hair, it's like biological tendril shit. They can control them. It's like this muscular tail, like you'd see a dog's tail, how that looks. It's like a bunch of long-ass tails coming out of their head. And it looks like they got dreadlocks. But they can control these things. They can reach out with it and choke your ass if they wanted to. But there's one that looks like Bob Marley. And his name, they even have human names. Like, there's some of these aliens that, they look like, they have human names. They don't look like humans at all, but they have human names. Like Bob, Earl. There's a guy in the book named Jason. who Zenith runs into. He goes to the planet, they're trying to slave the people, and they're like, fuck you! And that's what they tell him. They're like, fuck you, dumbass! And they just, like, push him off the planet and call him Hitler and shit. It's great. And then the humans from Motef eventually go to that planet. They're like, you guys are fucking badass! And they side with the people of that planet. I just don't have a name for the planet yet, but got a lot of lore written about it. But they side with the people of that planet, and it's badass, dude. It's like this big America planet. America! It's like, for the most part, the entire planet's like American culture, but then you got some parts that are different. Like, there's one part that's like Jamaican culture, there's one part that's kind of like Taiwan. But for the most part, minus a few little islands off in the ocean that are separated from the big mainland, like big supercontinent on the planet, it's like American culture on this big supercontinent. So it's pretty fucking cool. And the aliens are super cool looking, and they're super strong too. Like, there's a part in the book where the one named Jason, he wears this Hawaiian shirt, right? And there's another one named Kyle that's his brother, and Jason and Kyle work together fighting alongside Mostefis. And anyway, there's a part where Mostefis tries to give Jason and Kyle guns. Kyle takes an assault rifle of some variety, and then Jason's like, I don't fucking use no guns. I've been whooping ass since high school. And they're like, well, you know, because he's this big football player. Yes, they play football on this planet. Like I said, everything's like it is on Earth here. And it's like circa the 1990s technology too, but they're very advanced. It's like refined forms of that shit. But some of the stuff is old school. It's like they still use tube TVs, but they have jets that can go 700,000 miles per hour. They can just about they can just like go faster than the speed of light and shit. But they look like planes from America. But they're zero gravity things that can float. It's like some kind of UFO, but it looks like a F-14 Tomcat. You know, shit like that. Crazy alterations to Earth tech with this race, you know, that's what I'm going for. They got all Earth tech, but it's crazy, weird, altered and stuff. It's just like Earth, but just different too. And, anyway, yeah, it's fucking badass, dude. The book is gonna be fucking cool. I've already started rewriting it, you know. I just haven't gone very far into it because I want to come up with stuff I'm still coming up with lore, and I want to have various parts in the book where you run into these different characters. Oh, no, I can't go yet. I cannot cut it off just yet. I gotta talk about Dante the Space Pirate. I didn't talk about him in the last, let me sit my hand over here. I didn't talk about him in the last, in the last video that I made about this whole thing, and I meant to. So, Dante the Space Pirate, who is he, what is he, how was he created? He's a cockroach. He's a cockroach. That's what you need to know first and foremost. Dante is a cockroach, and he was created in a failed experiment by the Jade Technocracy to create a super cylinder out of insects, because insects reproduce very quickly. And the idea was you could have these creatures that reproduce incredibly quickly that would be incredibly fast and powerful. But it failed when we got Dante. He could not talk. It was one of the Jade Empire's earlier experiments, and they just gave up on the insect experiments. But they had, he couldn't talk, so he's got this voice thing, this voice modulator that reads his thoughts and creates voices out of that. It creates these words out of that, so he's got this voice modulation thing that he bought from a merchant on Motev. And he learned sign language, some kind of sign language until then, so he could talk to the merchant, and he buys this thing off of him. And he already knew English, though. Like, he understood in his mind how to pronounce these words and work these words, but he didn't really have any way of saying them. So this thing would read his mind, and it projects audio based on his thoughts. And he's cybernized a bit, but he's bipedal, though. He's got the wings and all of a cockroach, but instead of having all these little legs underneath him, he's got these big legs that kind of stick out the front and kind of curve back in this weird way. So you got the cockroach body that's like this. And then out of the bottom, you got these legs that kind of sway back and do this weird sort of shape like that. So he's fucking weird looking. He's got like horse legs or something. Not horse legs, but they're in that shape. And he can fly with the wings he's got, and he's got 2 arms. But then he's got a bunch of these little tiny legs up underneath him because, he is a cockroach, but he's just been genetically altered. And they forgot to erase the gene or the genes that are responsible for the creation of the little legs. So he's still got some of these little legs that they just kind of do like this. He can't really do nothing with them. It's just like the cutest little thing ever. So, but he's a badass though, and he's a pirate in space. And he meets this dude from Earth, because what happens is he's going through space, right? Dante is going through the Milky Way, and his craft crashes in Australia. And he meets this dude named Francis. This is before the humans go to space. That scared me so goddamn bad. Anyway, he meets this Australian dude named Francis who's from, Byron Bay. No, excuse me, he's from Brisbane, but he's currently living in Byron Bay, and he's talking about all these bands, that he's into from the... I don't say the names, obviously, because they're copyrighted and all, but he mentions, briefly the alternative rock scene in Brisbane, so that would be Violent Soho, Dune Rats and all these bands, The Chats and all this stuff. And DZ Death Rays, the Skegs, all these guys, badass. I was trying to remember if DZ Death Rays is from Australia. Yeah, I'm right on that. They are. But, yeah, he's talking about all these. He says, yeah, I'm a really big fan of because he's talking to this cockroach in the desert. Because what it was is, Francis lives in Byron Bay, but he was taking a trip out to the outback with his family for vacation. And he used to be in the Australian military. So he's out in the desert in a tent with his folks. And, what happens is he's like a wildlife expert, so that's what the vacation was about. They're staying out there in a tent, and they're watching wildlife and stuff. And this fucking craft crashes out next to the tent. It crashes out next to the damn thing. And it's not totally damaged, but the guy Dante didn't have his settings set right to enter the atmosphere, and he kind of fucked up one of his engines and hit the ground. It's not too damaged to take off again, but he kind of gets out and he's in a daze, and he's like, what the hell? And he looks over at Francis, and Francis is like, what are you? And Francis is like, Dante's like, hi, my name's Francis, and sticks out his hand to shake Francis's hand, and all these little fingers and all these little feet are doing this number underneath him, and Francis is like, freaking out. And anyway, Francis is like, man, this is the coolest shit ever. Can I go with you? Dante's like, you got any training here, matey, or something? Because he kind of talks like a pirate, too. And he's like, do you have any training? What's your name? He says, my name's Francis. And he's like, you got any training in combat or anything? He's like, I used to be in the Australian military forces. And the guy's like, good enough, come on. Brings him aboard, brings his family aboard. But a tragedy happens where Zenith storms, because Dante robs one of Zenith's ships, and Zenith himself storms Dante's ship to get his shit back. He doesn't kill Dante or Francis, because in his own words, he thinks they're funny guys. He's weird. Zenith is weird. But anyway, he storms the ship, and he's like, I think you two are pretty good guys. I ain't going to kill you, buddy. And he said, I want to give you a reminder, in case of anything. In case you ever get an idea to steal from me again. So he kills Francis's daughter and his wife. And then Francis is like, fuck this guy. I'm going to kill him. Francis cybernizes himself to some degree. But he's got this camo military jacket and these pants that he wears, and it's badass. And he carries around a Bowie knife on him that's fixed with a laser, kind of like a lot of the other sword-based weapons are in the book. I almost said game, like in the game, but no, it's in the book. I wish it was a game; it'd be badass. But he's got all these different weapons on him and shit. He looks like Matthias Nielsen from Mercenaries 2 World in Flames, except he's got camo pants on with these combat boots, and he's got the camo jacket, and he's got longer hair, but it's long blonde hair, kind of like Matthias had that big long blonde mohawk. Well, this guy's got long blonde hair, like shoulder length blonde hair. No, not shoulder length. It's like Pella. It's like Dead from Mayhem. So yeah, is really, really interesting. That's what I'm getting at. I got a lot more than that, but I can't talk about it all in another one, just a part 2. So talk about some extra lore next time. And until then, I'm signing off. Peace out. You guys have a good one.